for being here today. Let me follow up on that because last week I sent you a letter along with some of my colleagues asking you about the FDA's cancellation of that Vaccine Advisory Committee meeting. For everybody's information, this is a meeting that takes place annually for at least 30 years to make recommendations on which influenza strains should be included in the flu vaccines for the upcoming flu season. And for the first time in decades, FDA canceled that meeting with no explanation given, no new date chosen. That is, I believe, unprecedented and dangerous. And you just referred to it, Dr. McCary. In 2022, you raised concerns when the FDA was considering not holding a vaccine committee meeting to authorize COVID-19 boosters for kids 12 to 15. And at the time, you said it was, quote, unconscionable and undermined the integrity of the FDA's standard process to not hold that committee meeting. So if you are confirmed, will you commit to immediately reschedule that FDA Vaccine Advisory Committee meeting to get the expert views? We need to know those so we can have the correct vaccine for the upcoming flu season.
Thank you, Senator, for the question, and I appreciated our time together in meeting ahead of this hearing. I was not involved in that decision, and what I would say is
you will immediately reconvene it.
I will immediately reevaluate which sessions, the leadership of that center, which decisions, which topics could benefit from.
What goes into a reevaluation? This is done every year, so we know what flu vaccine to have. What are you reevaluating?
First of all, for the last 7 or 8 years that I've been following it, they simply adopt verbatim the recommendation of the International GIP Group. But I was not involved in that decision. I will say that there, in my opinion, was a huge difference between requiring every 12-year-old girl in America to take an 8th COVID booster shot versus rubber stamping a recommendation from the International GIP Group, which has done 7 out of the last 7 years. I'm not saying that the decision is something I was aware of or involved in, but it's certainly something I will look at if confirmed.
Okay, I'm very unclear because the FDA is the gold standard for all of us. And this committee hearing is what has always been what we look to, the FDA look to, the American people look to determine what the flu vaccine is. What are you going to look at to make a determination and figure something else out now decades into this? What are you re-looking at?
Senator, I was not involved in that decision, but the committee looks at...
I assumed you would say, yes, I will reconfirm it immediately so we can let our public health experts and doctors know what flu to have next fall.
As I understand it, the committee members and the scientists at the FDA, the career professional scientists at the FDA, look at the recommendation of the International GIP Group, and they say, okay.
You just told me that you were going to reevaluate it, and I want to know what you are reevaluating it on. What are you looking at to make a decision, whether to reconvene it?
In conjunction with the center director of the Biologics Center, I would reevaluate which topics deserve a convening of the advisory committee members on VRBPAC and which may not require a convening. Obviously,
so what would we base our decision on?
Well, you can ask the Biden administration that chose not to convene the committee meeting for the COVID vaccine booster.
I get that. I understand. But I'm asking you, how will we know what flu to take next year, vaccine, if this committee doesn't reconvene and make their recommendation?
Senator, I was not involved in that decision not to convene that group.
I thought you would say, yes, we're going to reconvene so who knows what's coming. Let me just ask you really quick, also following up on a question on mifepristone, because FDA does play a really critical role in making sure we have safe and effective medications. Contraception and medication abortion have been approved by the FDA for many, many decades based on mountains of high-quality evidence and expert scientific judgments. So if you are confirmed, will you commit to upholding the science and evidence-based drug approvals for all FDA-approved products, including contraception and medication abortion?
Thank you for the question, Senator Murray. You have my commitment to follow the independent scientific review process at the FDA, which is a tried and true process and that has been around And so that is my commitment to you, Senator.
Okay, well, I want to be clear, there have been over 100 high-quality studies over more than 2 decades backing up the science and safety of mifepristone. Thank you, Mr. Chair.